I notice my shorter videos get a lot more viewership. And I realize it's because they're shorter. People got things to do. So what I'm going to do is break this next ones up to 10 to 20-minute videos because it's important. And I want as many people to see it as possible. So you can choose when you want to see the next one. What these videos is going to be about is getting naturalized citizenship revoked. This is important to Black Americans. Certain people have invaded our neighborhoods. They talk crazy about us. I'm going to be showing you the proof of the things that I'm saying because I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying it just to say it. Here on my channel, you can't just say anything. If you're going to say it, you got to explain it. So there's a reason these naturalized citizens need to get their citizenship revoked. One being the 14th Amendment was never meant for y'all in the first place. So in all reality, you got here in a way that was illegal. Anchor babies should not be a reason that you become an American citizen. I'm going to show you how people use it against this country and come here and commit crimes. Now, do we have Americans that commit crimes? Sure. But this is their country. This is our country. We are sick and tired of being called lazy, being made fun of, being called names. We already deal with that from racist white America. We don't need people that appear to look like us doing the same thing. With friends like that, who needs enemies? Same way, there's video after video of Somalians saying, we're not Black. And fine, you're not Black. But now that Trump is on that ass, oh, Trump is against the Black people, like Ilhan Omar. No, he's not against Black people. He's against Somalians. And Trump also said that the 14th Amendment was for us, not y'all. So the same way we fought to allow them over here, and it came on the piggyback of the civil rights movement, they pretty much used our own work against us. Now we're going to fight to get you removed because you're taking up spaces that were created for us. You're taking jobs that were created for us. You have Black Americans being killed in Latino neighborhoods because they don't want Black people walking through their neighborhood. What does that remind you of? It's over. We got a new fight to pick and a new fight to fight. And that's what this is about.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Bro Chat, where we can have real and honest conversation, get away from the monotonous conversations about dating and relationships and all the goofy stuff we talk about that's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, we here to have some real conversations today, man. No book of. I go by the name of Eli. As always, we got Ace with us.
Yes, indeed. The Daily Rapper Crew, the greatest core with the conversation you've been waiting for. You heard? Ace the Golden, man.
Okay. You was waiting. You was waiting all week to say that, wasn't you?
Nah, I just thought about that.
Yeah. Last but not least, we got Jill.
You had it actually flowed, so now I gotta come. Hello, have a great day. Nah, what it do? It's your boy Jew. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. You heard? Mm-hmm.
Listen, today's conversation is long overdue. Intellectual class with two brilliant minds that are different perspectives about the Black agenda.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, we got Dave Anderson. On the other side, we got Frank Zenu.
Yes.
Let me start here with Dave. Can you explain to the audience who you are and why you are qualified to have this conversation.
I feel like my qualifications are I'm a foundational Black American, 22-time best-selling author, radio broadcast professional, husband, father, and liver of the Black experience for the past 5 decades. You know, I don't think I need a doctorate, but I got a couple degrees. You know, okay. It's all right. Aside from that, I've been living, baby.
Okay.
Let's go.
And Frank, can you let the audience know who you are and why you are qualified to have this conversation?
My name is Frank Zano, of course, from Benin Republic, West Africa. And I've lived in about 9 African countries. I was trained to be a journalist, so I've been a reporter for the Washington Times for 13 years. It allowed me to live in Asia, Europe, Africa. And so and now, of course, I live in the United States of America. So I have a link. I seems to be the only bridge who can compare what I know from where I came from and then seeing people that we're taking from that place now. So I can look at the two and be able to spell out the similarities and what the root cause of some of the problems are.
Now, some good can come from conversations like this. But what I want you to pay attention to is, notice he said how traveled he is, right? And how educated he is, right? But notice how uneducated he is on key points in Black American culture. There's a lot of important stuff that this man admits he does not know about foundational Black American culture, yet he is so opinionated on it. That's my problem. What also is my problem is when certain people have a conversation, like you'll see when Dave Anderson points out very important stuff to him, he dismisses it. He lets Dave finish what he has to say, and then he says what he has to say. He does not concede on anything like, okay, well, I can understand that. It's just all about his way. We don't need your opinion, brother, but I'm going to let you make your own choice. Thank you. Proceed.
The first topic I want to get into is, how do you define culture? And under your definition, do Black Americans have a unique culture? Let me start here with Frank.
Well, I'm glad you used the word unique culture. So yes, I'm sure you all saw the episode, that got everybody on my case, except this gentleman who was the only one brave enough to say, well, look, before I cut him into pieces, let me give him a chance to come into the studio and explain, to the audience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. People say, oh, you're from Benin. And I'll say, yes. And they say, what's Benin culture like? And then I freeze. Because there's nothing like a Benin culture. Or if you're from Ghana, or if you're from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, there is no such thing. But if you say, oh, you are Yoruba, he said, yes. What is Yoruba culture like? Then he or she is able to start to talk about it. So there are similarities which I'm going to really explain and you can see it. So I'm first going to ask, he's been on my show. He's seen my thing. I do not put together that show, which I fund from my own pocket because I just want to say things to make people angry. No, it's because I really care. And sometimes I get frustrated about what I have seen from the continent where I come from and what I see here about my great-great-great-grandfathers, uncles, sisters who were taken away. So African Americans would say, well, you're not one like, yes, I know, but I'm walking past my cousin, my nieces every day. So what is in my head is what is in their head. And what I'm explaining is something that they must listen to when I say there is no such thing as African American culture. They're like, what do you mean? Well, culture for me is not dance, food, clothing. Those are not cultures. Culture is a worldview. The worldview is what drives people. Their relationship to wealth, to money, to community, to marriage, to family. It's the worldview they have. That's the foundation of a culture. And number two, there is no possibility for you to have a culture without having a language.
Now notice he said culture defined as to him, his definition of culture. He also said we have to listen to him. No, we don't have to listen to you. I'm doing my best to respect him as an elder, even though he is not my elder. We don't have to listen to your perspective if it's trash. So here, we're going to look up the definition of a culture as defined in the dictionary. Okay, here we are going to define culture as it comes from in the dictionary. The art and other manifestations of human intellectual achievements regarded collectively. Arts, literature, music, painting, philosophy. The customs, arts, social institutions, achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. Civilization, society, way of life, lifestyle, customs, traditions, heritage, habits, ways, morals, and values. Not once did it say anything about language, wealth, or your connection to wealth. So this is his definition of a culture. Sir, you don't define culture. So everything that we have contributed to American society, which is our society, he tries to take away as if it means nothing. You can't just make up new definitions. We don't need your opinion.
So if you read most of the books written by brilliant African Americans, the first thing you see, the headline is, the traumatic thing about slavery is not merely changing your environment. The traumatic thing about slavery is not merely asking you to work long hours. The Russians had hard labor camps in Siberia. Many countries, Japanese had it, where people work and they die. The traumatic thing about slavery is one thing only, which everyone has written about. They took our language away. They took our culture away. They took our history and religion away. That is a traumatic thing about being a slave. Now, if they took those things away, how and when were they recovered?
First of all, sir, we are talking about FBA, Black American culture, and Black American history. We are not talking about Russians or Asians. You cannot compare what those people have been through to us. They are two different situations. The same things didn't happen while they were captive that happened to us. This is why they gave it a new name for what happened to us. Chattel slavery. Different.
So I met a gentleman. I was attending a conference in Singapore, and I met this gentleman who was a Korean sociologist. So we started talking during coffee, and I said, oh, I lived in Korea for 2 years when I was reporting. And he said, oh, wow. And then we started talking. I don't remember how the conversation came about when he asked me. He said, so your country was colonized? I said, yes. And my country, his country, Korea, was colonized by the Japanese for 49 years. And he said, what did you guys, meaning referring to people in Benin, what did you lose as a result of colonization? And I froze and I said, whoa, nobody has ever asked me that question. So I said, Prof, you tell me, and that will give me some idea. And he said, no, we're Koreans, we're colonized by the Japanese. So when they left, all we lost was time. We just went back being Koreans. And from that day, I could tell clearly, what did we lose as a result of colonization in Africa? What did you lose as a result of slavery? If you don't fix that which you lost, you're not going to make any way forward. So in Africa, the countries that exist today were never there. They force a group of tribes that have their own distinct cultures to become a country. So they've lost their distinct cultures, trying to have a culture as a collective, which is never going to happen. So for me, first and foremost, when I talk about culture, I'm talking about a worldview, meaning the collective have to have one reason they are here on earth. And that thing is what drives them. It's what makes them wage wars, conquer people, anything. You ask anybody, in 1884, it was the Irish journalist who finally found a word to describe the English man, which he called the manifest destiny. That exceptionalism of the Englishmen, now you call them Americans. The American exceptionalism is the American culture, that they believe that God put them on this earth to colonize and civilize others. And that's what drives them to go out there and try to give freedom and fight for freedom and do all the things they do. Now, good or bad, I'm not giving any value You ask the Japanese, he will tell you their worldview. So their dance and food, and no, those are not. I came from a place where, as a young boy, I was given a worldview, and it guided me everywhere I went. So when you meet me outside my culture, you can tell from my behavior, he must come from a culture that believes in XYZ. So a culture becomes more pronounced when you are outside the group. As an individual, outside your group, people must be able to tell.
Okay. Dave, what is your rebuttal to that?
It's not so much a rebuttal, it's a difference in philosophy, right? It is, and I think we got to thank Frank for even coming here, because I know for some people this would be very adversarial. Frank and I, we talk all the time. We're very, very good folk. And there's a couple of things that I got to push back on simply because they were not available to us. See, when Frank was born, he inherited a culture. We had to make one with what we had. Some of us, if I were to swab any one of you, you would find some Nigerian, you would find some Ghanaian. Like, we had to hodgepodge, not to mention, out of all of the places that Black people were forced into when we were slaves, 3% came to what we now consider the United States of America. And then we were bred over time. We were buckbroken over time. They would take our women and grape them out of respect for your channel. You know what I'm saying? Drop the G. And then on top of that, they had a split breast system. And the split breast system means that one breast would feed the white children of the slave master, and the other one would feed the Black children that were going to be bought off and sold. We also have a situation where we had to face things that no other Black person on the continent had to face. You know, taking our children and feeding them to alligators, lynching, Jim Crow, all of those things. And when you look at it, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, the pulse of America runs through foundational Black Americans. Who was the first person to die in the Revolutionary War? Crispus Attucks, Black man, foundational Black American, right? Harriet Tubman made the Underground Railroad and stopped it in Philadelphia. There are all of these things that have happened that make it who we are. Now, as a person who was the first Black youth president of an organization called the National Conference of Christians and Jews, to Frank's point, I do agree, you don't really see your culture until you're out of it. So I'm a raisin and buttermilk in a conversation where there's a bunch of white Christians and a bunch of Jewish people, and they're like, hey, we do this. I'm like, no, Black people don't do that. You know what I'm saying? From the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we eat, the way we move. Not to mention, you can't go anywhere on this earth without seeing our influence. The problem is, unlike any other Black culture on the face of the planet, we have been colonized and monetized for profit by everyone, including the Koreans. K-pop ain't nothing but R&B. Let's call it what it is. And it's R&B under duress, because if you look at what happened with Megan Thee Stallion when she was dealing with those K-pop girls, she was like, oh, it's serious up in here. Because if they miss a step, they get what Joe Jackson gave Mike and them, but worse. There are all of these things that take place that no one wants to talk about. So no, we don't have a language because we weren't allowed to speak our language under penalty of death. When you talk about you can't come to the cookout and things of that nature, people forget. Picnic is an abbreviated slang term, which means you get to picnic to lynch. Postcards came from pictures that they used to take the back of and mail for people who couldn't see the lynching that they had. All of these things we survived. And the funny thing is, everyone's coming over here and benefiting from the fact that we put out the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. All of those things that started as the Black liberation movement, but then got shoehorned into civil rights because everybody wants to come off of our pain, is still a part of who we are. American culture is Black culture. The problem is, not only did we have to create it, but everybody else got to monetize it. We don't own major forms of media. So the message that goes out to the world about foundational Black Americans is very lopsided. It's very negative. Even Frank said to Nancy, he said, well, what is your culture? Twerking? Negating the fact that twerking started in Africa.
Something else Dave is not acknowledging that annoys me. Maybe he's not doing it on purpose. In fact, I doubt he is. He's just trying to get his points across as he could at the moment. We were already here. Like he said, 3% came from Africa. So there was a humongous percentage that was here already. This is how you got 43 million today. So he said himself that he said, what is your culture? Twerking? You see how this man is so educated on us, yet he wants to insult us? No. You got here on the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. It is time to get these citizens, naturalized citizens, citizenship revoked. Because with friends like that, quote unquote, who needs enemies? We do not need people like that man over here claiming to fight for us, claiming he has the opinions that he has to benefit us as Black people. We don't need your opinion, especially when you're as uneducated about the people that you speak of as you are.
Mating rituals, things of that nature, tying of the hip, stop me when I go wrong. All of these things get put out as if that's who we are. And it's a very limited, very narrow-minded, very sore and very disingenuous snapshot of who we are, because we get put into killers, baby mamas, this and that and the other. And then when you look at how the media is weaponized, right? They'll take people throughout the diaspora and then put them on platforms and then bring them here. I'll give you an example. There's a show on CBS called Bob Hart's Abishola. And she said things that were much more incendiary than what Frank said. You know, oh, what is it? Gangbangers and baby mamas?
Crazy.
No. That energy is designed to keep us a certain way. And then when you talk about how the entertainment is weaponized, because that's the message, that's our largest export. It always has been. Our talent and our ability to entertain, but not capitalize on said entertainment. You can't point to one major Black-owned record company.
And to no fault of our own that we didn't have our own record and publishing companies. When we tried to get those, we were assassinated or put into prison. You have to speak about that. Sam Cooke, who would be the first artist that I can think of that tried to do this, was murdered. Suge Knight, Irv Gotti, and Jay Prince tried to get their own publishing companies, and they were all jailed. Except for Irv Gotti. They tried to put him in prison, but they couldn't. He fought back. So what they did was come at the people funding him, and they told them, if you give him money, we're coming after you next. So we're speaking on why these things are the way they are. They aren't just like that because Black people were lazy and we did not try. I'm going to make this part 1 and stop it here. If you want to see a part 2, let me know in the comment section. Thank you for all of the new subscribers. I sincerely appreciate y'all. Help me build this community to get these naturalized citizens up out of here. Peace.